Welcome to Duo Chat with Brittany
and Cynthia, where we talk about drama shows
like Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill, and more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany.
And I'm Cynthia.
And today we're talking about Season 3, Episode 20, titled Every Day is a Sunday Evening, air date April 19th, 2006, and the synopsis is...
Okay, it's the weekend of the Coastal Classic, and with Lucas sidelined, Nathan has to step up on the court against an old rival who shows an interest in Haley. Brooke and Mouth plot revenge against Rachel, while Dan goes head-to-head with Cooper. Also, Peyton makes a life-altering decision. So Nathan starts narrating. He's playing in the gym alone, and when he makes a basket, it transitions to him playing in a game. And he's still narrating that Lucas is gone, but that doesn't mean that the season is over. He says it's just the beginning. And he says to stay out of his way for a while. And then Mouth is back announcing with Gigi.
I'm glad to see Gigi back.
Yeah, me too. Nathan takes a second to tell Haley at the sidelines if she's sure she doesn't want to sleep with him. Yeah.
You sure you don't want to sleep with me? Okay, Nathan, settle down there.
Yeah. And then he narrates again, saying that life's funny sometimes. It can push pretty hard, like when you fall in love with someone, but they forget to love you back. And then we see Mouth looking at Rachel. And then Nathan continues saying, like, when your best friend and your boyfriend leave you alone, when you pull the trigger or light the flame and you can't take it back. And we see Dan and Deb. Nathan is playing well. And then Peyton wakes up at Jake's. And she asks Jake what happened to him last night. He says that Jenny was fussing, so they slept on the couch. And Payne tells Jake that she didn't get a chance to thank him before she crashed for getting in touch with her after.
Isn't it weird that he said that? Isn't it weird that he said that they didn't sleep in the same bed or whatever because of Jenny?
Right.
Because remember at Peyton's, they were all in the same goddamn room.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know. That's just like a little fishy to me because it's not like it's their first time being in the same house or anything alone.
Mm-hmm.
They lived at Peyton's for how long? So I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense that, I don't know. If it was me, I'd be like, okay, there's some red flags here from Jake. Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like, after all these months, it's like, there's no, I mean, think about it. After all these months, don't you think that he would want to sleep in the same bed as her?
Right.
That's what's weird. So that's why it's a red flag for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then she jokes about taking a bullet and you get a call from Jake, not a bad thing. And Jake tells her he wishes he could have been there for her.
Lucas was there. We're good. What?
Then,
I'm a Lucas and Peyton fan.
Mm-hmm. And then Jake mentions that this is last minute, but he has plans today because him and Jenny spend Saturday mornings in the park. So he thought maybe Peyton wants to go.
Okay, so they're in Savannah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the place they went to start? Because remember his cousin lived in Savannah? That's where they went to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you go back there? Because obviously Nikki found them because now they're sharing custody. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. I think later at the park, Jake says that Nikki has family there.
Because I know he does. Because remember he was living with his cousin in season 1 or something.
Mm-hmm. And then next scene outside the gym, a guy walks up to Haley knowing who she is.
Oh my God, it was so creepy. Because he goes, you look good in blue.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, thanks. And he's like, you know what else would look good on you? Me. Oh, so disgusting. But you know what's funny? It's like Nathan always comes out at the perfect moments. Have you ever noticed that? When it was Felix, now it's Damien. It's like, like, okay, Nathan. But it was sweet because he comes out. I think you're out of your league.
Right.
You didn't think that was funny?
No, it was. Yeah.
I did.
And then Damon also knows Nathan from High Flyers. And he asks Damon if he's still missing his free throws. And Damon says, who cares, because they didn't show free throws at Sports Center. And then says what else they don't show is Ravens. And then he has to mention he heard that they lost their shooter, so I guess their season is over for them. Nathan says he doesn't think so. And Damon says unless they win the tournament, they're not making postseason and they're not going to win because his team is.
I still don't know how they can because they've missed all these games and they were losers to begin with.
Right.
So it just doesn't make any sense. I didn't know that you could lose like every game and win a few and be in the championship.
Right.
I didn't know that. Did you? I thought you had to be like one of the best.
Right. And then Nathan and Haley walk away. So Damon says,
"I'll see you in your dreams."
To Haley, yeah.
I can't with this guy. No.
Yeah. And that was only after he told Nathan he would see him on the court. And then Jake, Jenny, and Peyton are at the park. And Jake can't believe that Peyton is actually there with them.
Well, he would have realized it when he was in bed with her, but he didn't do that either.
And Payne says she thinks when her dad told her to follow her heart, he didn't anticipate her following it all the way down to Savannah for a weekend.
Well, I think he probably thought it was better than being with Pete from Fall Out Boy.
Yeah. So Jake says that because Peyton says, how's your life? And Jake says that he gets Jenny twice a week, so it's awesome. And then says it's a long story. And then goes on to say that when Nikki left Tree Hill, she took Jenny here to Savannah to be with her parents. But her parents had enough of both of them, so they petitioned the court for custody for Jenny for a year. Yeah, so...
this is weird.
Yeah, they messed up their writing there.
Because in season 1, he was running from Nikki. So he went to Savannah to be with his cousins because that was the only place that he could run. If her parents are in Savannah, they would have told her, and instead of her going to Seattle or somewhere,
yeah.
I thought it was Seattle.
Maybe, yeah.
Instead of going there, she would have went right to Savannah.
Yeah.
It's so weird that all of a sudden now her parents live there?
Yeah, unless they move there.
After?
At some point between them. Yeah, between that time. But still, yeah, it's weird.
Because when she came back, remember when they all came back to Tree Hill or whatever, or when she came back, because she came back first, she was like, she never once said, my parents told me he was in Savannah.
Right.
She said she had to find out. But it's just like, it was just weird. Because if it was your parents that, were there, you would have just said your parents told you she was there. That's how you got her back.
Yeah.
So that didn't make any sense. I'm like, are we losing the fact that Jake ran to Savannah because nobody knew her there?
Yeah, so Jake says that a year is long enough for him and Nikki to prove that they can keep their lives together. Like he could keep a job, stay out of trouble.
So if he gets Nikki twice a week, where's Nikki the rest of the time?
Well, maybe she gets also 2 days and then her parents get the rest. I don't know. So, yeah, so Peyton is surprised Nikki is there with Jake and Jenny. And Jake explains that she stays with her parents and she gets Jenny most of the time. So it took them a while to be okay with that, but he thinks she's really trying.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Definitely on left field there. Like all of a sudden, after just a couple months, she's gonna just change like that, and he's gonna just trust her.
Right.
And he's gonna be okay with only seeing her twice a week. He had her every day of her life. Doesn't make any sense that he would be okay with this.
Right.
Especially the guy that was yelling in the jail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they can't do any drinking or anything, like, because they drug test. Well, Jake says they drug test him, but they should with Nikki as well.
Well, especially because she is what, possibly legal age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he says he just sleeps, work, and then hope in a few months he'll get custody of Jenny. Then he can start his life again. And then at the Scott house, Dana's looking at a picture of Keith when Deb walks in. She asks him why he's there, and he says he's just dealing with the past, but he wanted to see her. And he says she looks good, and she says he looks
You look
terrible.
terrible.
Mm-hmm.
That was good.
Yeah. And he says he hasn't been sleeping well. He's been struggling quite a bit ever since Keith. Then Deb says, he's trying. He just thought then tells Deb he's trying. He just thought now that she's back and Nathan's moved out, maybe she's lonely in such a big house. But
But
then
she
that's
says
when
she's
Cooper,
not
Cooper
because she
walks
has her
in.
brother.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh my God. Then he said, "Are you staying in my house now, Cooper?"
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes, and then Cooper goes, "Actually, I'm staying in my sister's house."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, so I did like when Cooper walked in saying that Deb wasn't lonely, but then Dan calls Cooper the race car crashing brother. Didn't like that.
No, kind of is true.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really don't like somebody, you're going to make up anything.
Mm-hmm.
I did like too that Cooper said, because it's my sister's house, I don't think we'll be seeing much of you around here.
Mm-hmm.
I think he said, unless you're invited.
Mm-hmm. And Dan asks Cooper if he has a problem with him and calls him kid.
And then at some point Nathan walks in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did love when Nathan said, when he walked in, said, "What the hell is this?" And then he told Dan to just go home.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was weird because Dan said, "I could say the same thing to you." And it's like, he could just be visiting his mom, because technically he did move back in with Haley.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what Dan's talking about.
Right, well, he does say that. He said that he heard he moved back in with Hades, or he means Haley.
Yeah, but why did he say, but right before that, why did he say I could say the same thing about you?
Maybe because it's
his
early in the
mom,
morning.
but it's his mom's house.
Mm-hmm.
He could be visiting his mom and his uncle. It doesn't make any sense that, like, it's not like he's still living there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Nathan goes to drag Dan out of the house, but Dan pulls his arm back and tells Cooper not to be a stranger, and then tells Deb welcome home and kisses her head, and then has to tell Cooper Nathan is playing well, so try not to almost kill him while he's back. And Nathan tells Dan to go, so now he finally leaves.
Then they go outside, though.
Huh?
Don't they go outside right after?
Yeah, because Nathan follows him.
I thought it was funny when Nathan's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think mom's had enough?"
Mm-hmm.
And then why does Dan, it's my house. But whose house really is it?
Right.
Because I feel like, I don't know. Because, I mean, yes, Dan has made a lot of money. But they always say that all of this came from Deb's money. So you would think at some point he could have just paid her back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Nathan tells Dan that it's not his house or his wife. Deb's not his wife. But aren't they still technically married because they never got divorced? Right?
Yeah, I didn't think they signed the papers yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they technically would be. I
Right.
know, because I know that he said I would give it to you
Mm-hmm.
after the election, but I don't think they signed, because then Nathan hit the race car. No, that was still before. Yeah, I didn't really see them sign.
Right. Yeah, so Nathan tells Dan to stop this crap, and Dan asks, what, because he's the mayor of the town. He can go wherever he wants and do whatever he pleases. And he yells at Nathan if, he hears him, and Nathan says, yeah, and so does the neighbors, Mr. Mayor. And Dan again says it's his house. He worked hard to build
And
it.
he can burn it down.
Yeah, and everything in it.
Okay.
Which sounded like a threat.
Yep.
And then he drives off very quickly, and Deb is outside now and tells, and Nathan tells her.
Yeah, Nathan said it's getting worse, not better.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree with him. Like, Dan is never going to change.
Right.
They're just going to have to get used to this.
Mm-hmm. And then later at the apartment, Nathan is in the bath and he's telling Haley Dan is never going to change. You can see him resorting to the same manipulative crap. And Haley says she's sorry and wishes she could just take him away from all of that. And then Nathan asks her if she's heard from Lucas and Karen, and Haley says no. Lucas has said they were going to get on the road and drive. And Haley says that she just thinks that they need a break at this point. Plus, Karen doesn't really want him around the tournament when he can't play. So, isn't it odd that Lucas would only tell Haley where he was going with his mom and not Nathan?
I mean, they are best friends.
I know, Nathan is his brother, so you think that he mentioned something to him.
Maybe it was like a spur of the moment thing and Haley was the last person he saw.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe at the cafe or something, they were like rushing out and Haley was the only one there or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just figured she would tell him.
Yeah.
But
probably.
also, did he tell his girlfriend, Brooke? Aren't they still together?
Yeah, but
there's like no mention, at least I thought in this episode, of Brooke and Lucas being together.
Right.
It's like one of those, remember when Karen was all like high on Keith and Andy was invested in Dan, that they were in the same episode, they just never talked or acted like they were together. Remember that? I said, what's going on here? I feel like it's the same thing this. Like, yeah, we don't see Lucas, but he only told Haley and Brooke doesn't act like she's with him.
Right.
So it's kind of weird. It's not like she's going, I miss him or anything like of to tell the audience that they're still together communicating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think you forgot to mention he's in the tub.
Yeah, I said he was in the tub, yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear you. But yeah, he's in the tub.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but Nathan being all cheesy for a second. Because when she asked him, does it hurt? And then he said that, like basically it did until you came home.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cheesy.
Yeah.
Because he said that's when his heart stopped hurting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Nathan.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but once again, one slice mark. That's all he's got on him.
Right.
This boy should have been banged up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only been, it was at the end of the school year that he did it. It hasn't even been that long.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like you could still be banged up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how he's playing so good basketball.
Right.
Because didn't Lucas suck after?
Yeah.
Why is it Nathan?
I don't know. But either way, this makes Haley get up from the edge of the tub.
Yeah, because she promised she wouldn't sleep with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he wants her to admit that he got her, and she says no. But then back in the doorway, she says, okay, maybe. And then he goes underwater, which is a segue to the bucket of water that Rachel is using to wash her car.
This was funny.
Mm-hmm.
Because Brooke sprays her. No,
Yeah.
why is Mouth there?
Well, Mouth walked up saying that it's not fair. It's one thing to break his heart, but does she have to look good in like a beer commercial while she's doing it? And Rachel tells him that
there though.
Yeah, so Rachel says
didn't she break his heart last episode?
Mm-hmm.
So why is he talking to her?
Well, I don't know. I'm reading my notes again. Rachel says,
but I don't get it.
Mm-hmm. Rachel tells him she's been calling him, and Mel says he figured she was busy with Old Man River, aka Cooper, and she says he's not that much older than them, even though he's like 10 years older.
But that's not really that much older.
Well, too old for them.
Well, yeah, obviously too old for them, but I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if he's too old for them, why would they do a storyline and people would be okay with it of Brooke in season 5?
Just
Like,
because she would be in her 20s.
oh, okay. So all Rachel has to do is wait another year.
Maybe, yeah, but
I'm just saying it doesn't sound good when you're saying right here it's not okay, but then all of a sudden like you're gonna root for it later on. Like too young is too young. Let's just like they got nothing in common. Okay, maybe one thing and that's it.
mm-hmm. Yeah, so Mouth is just confronting Rachel about how, he thought that it was different because they were spending a lot of time together and they flirted and even kissed a few times. So Rachel said she didn't mean to lead him on. And Mouth says, but it happened anyway. And he says he wasn't going to fall for her, but he kissed her and he woke up wanting to do it all over again. And now here they are. So I
But
guess he just wanted to confront her about everything.
But it was funny when Brooke comes up and sprays him and says, I thought witches were supposed to melt.
Mm-hmm.
It was so funny.
Yeah. And Rachel asks what's wrong with her, and Brooke says that she's not the freak with the plastic ass and tin heart, but Rachel says that she's
No, you're the freak with the fat ass and no
Mhm.
heart.
Right.
Once again, we're saying Brooke's fat.
Mm-hmm.
No, are you kidding me? If
Mhm.
that's fat, okay, then I want to be fat.
But then Brooke does come back with at Rachel, who calls her girl formerly known as Orca, and says she let Mouth down and she knows, so maybe it's time for her to get back in touch with her inner sperm whale and realize she has fewer friends than she did before. Well, Mouth was really her only friend to begin with, but I mean, she kind of had
she
the
made friends with
cheerleaders,
cheerleaders. She
really.
remember though when she gave Peyton the CD behind Brooke's back.
Yeah,
She
but they
was
didn't
trying,
like stay in contact, stay
but
in
they were
touch, hang out.
but they were trying to show that, Rachel
Mhm.
could be the number one.
Yeah. And then Rachel mentioned that her new friend Lucas called her, and she asks Brooke if he's called her lately, and Brooke tells Rachel she would punch her in her fake nose right now, but she'd just go out and buy another one. So
That was funny.
yeah. So Brooke never answered if she did get a call from Lucas, so who knows?
I'm
But
thinking that.
yeah. Mouth tells him that's enough, and he walks away, not wanting to be a part of this anymore. And Brooke tells Rachel she's going to make her regret this and walks away. So then Jake is showing Peyton around Savannah, giving her a tour, pointing out that there's a courthouse where the judge scared the crap out of him and Nikki, and then he points out on the alleyway where he threw up before and after the hearing, and then the building on the corner that's the Savannah College of Art and Design. He didn't throw up there, and every other building is either haunted by some crazy ghosts or witch or gremlin or something. And Payne asks, is there any sarcastic goth angels? And Jake is confused about what that means. So she just says that they have all their ghosts. So obviously they brought up this college as like a way for Peyton to be interested in staying there, like one of her main reasons.
Mm-hmm. Well, her main would be Jake, but
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Then she changes the subject by bringing up the coffee she's drinking is like nectar from heaven. He needs to try it, and he does, and gets whipped cream on his nose. And then Payne and Jake have a moment, but he stops it by asking if she wants to get some food with her or with him. And then they awkwardly walk towards the place that he mentioned. And then Brooke and Mouth are walking. Mouth is talking about how he can't believe Brooke sprayed Rachel with her own hose. And Brooke then just gasps because she sees Cooper. And she tells Mouth that Nathan's hot Uncle Cooper is in
that
town.
was funny. That's Nathan's hot Uncle Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Again. Okay. Like how many times has Cooper been in town?
Right.
I don't
And
think often.
Yeah, and she asks how does she look, and Mouse gives her the very funny but honest answer, like Lucas's girlfriend.
Mhm. And she's like, that's what I mean. Like she ain't even acting like she has a boyfriend in this episode.
Mm-hmm. But then Mouth gets a better look at Cooper and recognizes him from being the guy that Rachel was with the other night.
Yeah, because he said Uncle Cooper is Rachel's new boyfriend. She's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair. Like acting like because she's first like, what? Like how did she get him sort of thing? And then she went, wait a minute. He wouldn't be interested in a high school girl.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, mm-hmm. And then that's when she's like, he doesn't realize she's in high school. Duh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she said if he was, that she would have tried harder to get him, basically.
Well, yeah, Brooke, I'm sure, would be with him if.
Mm-hmm.
If he did.
Right. And then Brooke tells Mouth she thinks it's time for Frank and Rachel felt a little of the heartbreak he's feeling. And then Payne and Jake are at the restaurant, and Payne says to him that she knows Nikki is around now, so she's wondering if they're. And Jake immediately says no, but one of the hardest things for him was that Nikki and him are always going to have Jenny in common, and that Jenny should know who her mother is, and Jake knows Payne can't understand that, with Ellie. But then Jake asks Payne if she's seen anyone. She says not really, but she was kind of dating Pete from Fall Out Boy. And Jake doesn't believe her like everybody else.
Yeah, and then he said, yeah, that he's dating Shakira.
Mm-hmm. And then Payne tells him that she's serious. It's weird, but it happened. And Jake says that sucks because not that she dated the guy, just that she dated a rock star because musicians are trouble. And then the guy on stage
Which she already knows that.
Mm-hmm. And then the guy on stage.
That was funny because, they're at the bar together. And that's when they announced the next act. And it's Jake.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was one of the guys from his band, and it was funny when he said that they would love to play for the audience, but whenever their lead singer decides to stop flirting with those pretty girls, and they can.
And Payne's like, what? Until he gets up, and it's like,
Yeah, he told her to watch out for those musicians. And then he began singing a song called Someday. So I don't know anything about Brian, if this was his original song or what, because I really don't know what he's done outside of acting, if he's done any singing or anything like that. Do you?
Nope.
Yeah, so then we see Nathan playing in a game. Brooke is looking over at Rachel, knowing she's going to get her soon when it comes to Cooper. And then we see the Ravens move up in the tournament. And then later, Rachel changes out of her cheerleading outfit in the car before going to see Cooper at Deb's house. And then inside, he mentions to her that she's late, and she asks if she looks hot enough to get away with it, and he says maybe. He kisses her and says that she, looks good, but then she says nice house, and he says thanks, but it's his sister's, and he asks if she wants a tour. And Rachel says she just mostly is interested in the bedroom, and they head up, and then we see past the pictures.
That clearly she didn't see.
Yeah.
Of Nathan and Cooper.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and his mom, because, Rachel was too distracted to notice them. But, she could have noticed them if she had said yes to that tour around the house. So this could have saved...
She only wants one thing.
I know, I'm just saying that this could have saved a lot of stress for everyone later if she saw them. But then Peyton is standing outside when Jake walks up asking if she knows that Savannah is built on literally the dead. They placed cemeteries all over the city, and then as it grew, they just built on top of them. But Payne isn't interested in hearing about it, so she says she can't wait to go to bed tonight, but guesses he's not going to protect her there, too. Right? And then mentions he didn't sleep on the couch last night because of Jenny, did he? She asks. Jake says to her that she needs to know that when he saw her face at the airport, he doesn't think that he's been that happy since she's been there with them. But people always leave, right? He asks Peyton, using her own words to her. Even though up until this point, he was the one always leaving her. And then mentions that there's this ramp he passes every day on his way to work. And every day he thinks he could get on it and be in Tree Hill in 6 hours. In 24 minutes to be exact. And he'd be with her.
Buddy be without Jenny.
Yeah. And Payne says that he could have called her and told her that it's not like he's hiding anymore. And Jake says it would have been too hard to hear her voice, to feel them again, because his life is out here now, and as much as he would love to, she's leaving. And then he's going to be the one left with the dull pain in his heart and the pain that took him a long time to let go of. And then they go inside, and then that's when Peyton tells him that every song ends. Is that any reason to not enjoy the music? And he says nothing, so she tells him to just forget it, and she'll see him tomorrow. And then she ends up going to her room upset, but then she opens the door to see Jake sitting right there, and he walks in and kisses her, and they end up on the bed. And then in the morning, Jake says that
I think they hooked up.
Yeah, they did. And then Jake says that he can get overtime at work, but he can call in if she wants him to. And she says, he tells him to go. She tells him to go, and she can spend the day alone
with Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then he brought up how he could get Jenny and have Peyton spend time with her.
Right.
I don't know how. Like, I don't know why Nikki would be like, yeah, I want my daughter with Peyton
Right.
all day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I don't feel like Peyton or Nikki would really allow that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
No.
And also, why would you want somebody coming in and out of your daughter's life? I mean, you already did that, but I don't get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Peyton mentions that she loves that little girl, and Jake says that he knows she does and that he loves her for it. And then she drifts off, so he asks her where her head is at, and she says it's all over the place. It's the feeling you get on a Sunday when you have the whole day to yourself, and it's been great. And then you remember you have to go to school the next day, so it ruins the rest of the night. So that's just a long explanation of saying the Sunday scaries. And she says she has to go home tomorrow, so it's that feeling.
What do you think though when he brought up the same thing, but about that every song ends, but there's no reason to enjoy it,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
there's not a reason. Well, and then she brought up Ellie, told her
Mm-hmm.
that, but how does Jake even know? Jake doesn't know any of this Ellie stuff.
He could have, Payne had told him, well, when we didn't see it, or maybe if he listened to Payne's podcast, possibly. Who knows? But, yeah, Jake says that Ellie was right about that. Tomorrow's going to hurt like hell. They both know that, but they're together now. So basically just enjoy the moment. And then back in Tree Hill, Brooke meets Mouth at the cafe, calling him Marvin McFabulous. And she welcomes him to the dark side. But just then Cooper walks in.
And of course, Brooke invites him over.
Yep. And Cooper introduces himself to Mouth, and Mouth lies and says that his name is Steve. And Cooper recognizes him as a flower delivery guy and then calls Rachel his girl, saying she never said who those flowers were from. And Brooke says that sounds like a shady character, trying to give Cooper hints that something's going on with Rachel. But Cooper just says that he thinks it was personal. All she said that was they were from somebody that she really cared about. He says they all have their histories. He just thinks this guy must have meant something to her. He then asks, what's good to eat there. And Mouse says that he ordered the pie, but he doesn't think he has a stomach for it. And he asks Cooper if he cares about his new girlfriend. And Cooper says he does. So Mouse tells him to take good care of her. And Cooper says he will.
Brooke's like, where are you going? Because Mouth wants to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, they're supposed to make their plan for payback.
But then Mouth wants to talk to Rachel first.
Mm-hmm.
Why? So he can tell her what he's about to do?
I don't know, maybe just
well,
warn her she might get hurt.
You don't warn the person you're about to mess with.
Right. I mean, warn her if she might get hurt, even without Brooke's interference. Because Cooper would probably eventually know her age anyhow at some point.
I think he wanted to tell her.
Maybe, I don't know. And then it was funny because Brooke was upset that she really wanted pie because she really wanted that pie. And then at the apartment, Nathan mentioned
she just has a pie.
I don't know. I think they were also using the pie as a metaphor for revenge, maybe. That's what I was thinking, but at the apartment, Nathan mentions the team needs to win one more game, otherwise Whitey has to retire without making the playoffs. And Haley says they can't let that happen and asks if they're playing Oak Lake tonight. And Nathan says, yeah, they're undefeated. And Haley asks if her boyfriend, Damien West, is any good. And he says, yeah.
So, I'm so confused.
Hmm.
Because, remember outside at the beginning, there was Damien.
Yeah.
But they're going to play them later?
Yeah, I guess.
You really only supposed to play them once. I don't understand this episode. They keep playing them?
I don't know. I really don't know. I have no clue.
But it just doesn't sound right. They already showed them playing. Now all of a sudden we're going to play again? And that game is going to mean something?
Yeah, I don't know. But Nathan ends up saying that Damien is kind of like the younger version of his dad. And Dan's hearing this outside the apartment for a second near the window.
Oh.
And they don't see him.
They must be talking real loud.
Mm-hmm.
Because how could he hear that?
Right.
And it's also very stalkerish.
Mm-hmm.
But how can he hear them?
Right.
They're not even sitting by the window.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't hear a word they're saying. unless
Right.
he bugged it.
Mm-hmm. And then Haley says it's hurt her to see what's happened with his relationship with his dad, especially now that he's playing so well. He should be able to enjoy, that with his father. Nathan says, yeah, but it's too late for that. And by the way he's feeling, he doesn't think that he has another great game in him. And Haley says she doesn't believe that, and she's going to help him, and Damian West doesn't stand a chance. And then Dan leaves at this point, and Nathan and Haley, are holding each other and saying they love each other. And Haley tells her, or Haley has her arms around his neck, but then lets go, smacking his shoulders, telling him he has to put his shirt on because he's too sexy. And then back in Savannah, Payne is walking Jenny around, giving her the same tour Jake gave her, telling her that, this is where her dad fought for her. And then that's where he threw up in the valley or alley.
Then she said, well, then when about the college, then she said that's where she might go one day, and she gets a great idea, apparently,
Mm-hmm.
so that she can spend more time with Jenny and Jenny's daddy. That's weird.
Her dad, yeah.
Well,
And
she
then,
she called him daddy.
right, yeah. It was more common back then. And then in Tree Hill again, Haley is walking in the gym, minding her own business.
Why does he grab her like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because Damian grabs her and he's like, how does it feel knowing your man season ends tonight? But how he's come on.
He just thinks he's that good. Like how some guys are like they can be
I
like
know,
they think
just
that they
girl.
can do whatever they want. Yeah.
And then she said don't count on it, and he said she smells great. And then I love it because Dan shakes his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Like pulls him in with his hand, and he's like, he goes, Dan Scott, that's Mayor Dan Scott. And if you ever touch my daughter-in-law Haley again, I'll end your career. I was like, oh my God. Like, this is the thing. Like, I know, like, Dan keeps doing all these bad things, but then it's like here, he actually has a heart and he's doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I'm not gonna lie, I like when he threatens others.
Yeah.
I just don't like when he threatens his family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so apparently he saw everything that was going on with Haley and Damian, and then she saw the same.
He saw Damian grab her. He was right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we just didn't expect him to be. Well, I mean, at least I didn't expect him to be right there when I first watched this.
He's been around them the whole dang time. He's been stalking all of them.
Mm-hmm.
He just lets himself in Deb's house. He is outside Nathan and Haley's apartment. Now he's at the school. I mean, he's always around.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, he has no mayor things to do.
Right. And then Peyton gets home with Jenny, and she asks Jake, people always leave, right? And that's why they can't be together, but he has to stay, and she has to go back to Tree Hill. But she was thinking, why does she have to go back? And she tells him she wants to stay with him there. But then back in Tree Hill again, back at the gym, Dan calls to Nathan, but Nathan ignores him until Deb walks up.
Oh my God, I'm not gonna lie. This was sad for me.
Yeah.
Because, like, for Dan, he has worked his whole life, well, Nathan's whole life, to prepare him for this moment, and after that. And then he doesn't even get to watch it because of the restraining order.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like, because it is sad. And what's crazy is all these like couple episodes, like Nathan's like, oh, like he's so against Dan and all this. But then we go to like season 4 and he like tries to act like Dan isn't as evil as everybody says he is. And it's like, again, even with Dan, he plays like that wish-washy guard.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's just like standing by it, like, no, it was my idea. And, I want this restraining order. And it's like, okay.
Mm-hmm. And then after the cops let Dan out, you could see like Nathan kind of looked like he kind of felt bad for him.
Well, the thing is, like, Nathan acts all tough, but he needs Dan.
Mm-hmm.
And he can say whatever he wants, but Dan does love him in his own way. And Nathan needs him. That's all.
Mm-hmm. It just seemed like he regretted maybe putting the restraining order on him.
I'm sure he did.
Mm-hmm. So then the game is going. Damon's trying to psych out Nathan and saying, he's not going to stop him. Nathan tells him to look at the scoreboard, but in case he can't count, it's tied. And then Damon's coach yells for him to do better because Nathan owns him. So Damon straight out pulls the rug out from under Nathan because while Nathan is in the air mid-shot, Damon pushes Nathan's lower half, making him fall down to the floor. And then Damien backs up, watching the aftermath of what he did to Nathan, so he doesn't realize Haley is right behind him until she pushes him.
I think he knew Haley was right there.
Oh, well, it didn't seem like it because he seemed surprised when she pushed him.
I feel like he knew she was right there.
Mm.
And then, of course, he pushes her back, and then Nathan gets involved. Yeah, it's a whole fight.
Yeah. And then, the refs break up the boys up. Brooke checks on Haley.
Apparently, Nathan's bleeding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from that old wound.
Yeah, how?
Yeah, wasn't it healed already?
Yeah, it was supposed to be all healed and nothing, like once you're healed, it's not like you can open it back up unless you cut it open.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm like, it ain't like you just briefly touched it. I'm like, that was weird because it was healed.
Yeah. Yeah, so
but then that's when they said that he needs stitches, Nathan. And he doesn't want to because he wants to finish the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said to stitch him up because he doesn't want to lose that game.
Mm-hmm. And tells Whitey that they had this shot at the state championship, and doesn't he want to retire? Having won that, get there.
And then he went a little further, and he was talking about how they played in the crappy gym, and they ran 2 days until he puked. So, but it's still, he's gonna go get stitches from who? First of all, like who at our school would have just let me go stitch you up?
Right.
If you're gonna get stitched up,
I'll
be going to the hospital.
Right. But Nathan had also mentioned that he let Tim shower with him. So why did they add this when Tim hasn't even been part of the show for a while?
To make us act like he's coming back. I don't know.
Yeah, I just thought it was weird. But then Nathan tells Whitey to, not let a punk like Damian West take this away from them. So then, Whitey finally gives in, tells him to stitch him up and find him another jersey. But if his mother says anything about this, it was the medic's idea. And then Cooper gets there. Brooke starts laughing because, everything's going to fall apart for Rachel.
And she's like, and Rachel goes, what the hell are you laughing at?
Yeah, and Brooke tells her that there's 2 things she knows. She doesn't deserve a guy like Mouth, and deception
always catches up with you. That's great.
Yeah. And then Peyton is still in Savannah, and she's listening to the live feed from the game from Mouth's website. And then Jake walks in asking who's winning, and Peyton tells him it's tied in the 4th quarter. And Jake asks Peyton, what her master plan is, what makes her think she can just leave Tree Hill. And she says she's going to be out of high school in a couple months anyway, even though really it's like a whole nother season. And then she can get her GED now.
It's true because it's like January or February.
Yeah, it's just funny because we know it's going to last for a lot longer. And then, so she says that she can, the College of Art and Design is a great school, and her dad is always gone anyways.
This is weird because you shouldn't be leaving or staying because of people. So when she says Haley is Nathan, Brooke as Lucas, I'm like, that doesn't mean that you should just drop out of school. I'm like, just because they have somebody, it doesn't make any sense. And why can't she come see him in a couple months after she graduated?
Right.
He'll still be there.
And then Jake says that there's a reason she's listening to that game tonight.
Yeah, because she can't get away from it.
Yeah, she's gonna miss it if she leaves. And Payne asks Jake if he misses it, and he says every day. She then gets closer to him and asks Jake if he loves her, and he says he does. And she tells him she's walked around Savannah all day today and couldn't shake that feeling of it being Sunday evening. and it's always going to be without him. And he says that, or he's the one that makes that feeling go away. So yes, there are things about her life she would miss, but she'd miss him more. And then back at the game, Nathan comes back to the court.
Oh my God, this was great. Because he comes out, takes off the jacket, and he's wearing number 3.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was great. I mean, it's already perfect because they have the same last name. So, of course, he can use Lucas's, but it was great.
Yeah.
You didn't think so?
No, yeah, I did.
And how they did the reveal was so good.
Mm-hmm. And then there's barely a minute left on the clock. The Ravens are down 9 points. Damien is still annoying as ever because he tells Nathan that he should have stayed in the locker room. His season's over, and Nathan says they'll see about that. And then he makes a basket past Damien. And then, yeah, so they basically do a whole thing back and forth, but then, Nathan knocks him down. Eventually. But then,
they're just playing back and forth, yeah.
Yeah.
So I will say, like, the end when they when they finally score, and then it's like, or no, it gets tied, and then Nathan, there's a foul, so Nathan gets to shoot. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
And like that coach and Damien are not happy because we all know Nathan can shoot.
Yeah.
And so, and then this is what I mean is like Dan prepared Nathan for this clearly. Because it shows a flashback of him when he was little and complaining that he doesn't want to do this. And Dan keeps telling him, like, one day you're going to basically kind of thank me in his own way. But yeah, it's like it comes back to this. Like, Dan is outside listening to it and he doesn't get to watch it. And he prepared Nathan all these years. That must suck.
Yeah.
And of course, he does it staring at Damien, and makes it without looking at the basket.
Yep.
And it's so great because James can do this in real life. Clearly, he did it there, and he did it. Didn't you see that? Was it last year? Or was it last year that he did this?
Yeah, didn't I bring it up? I saw an edit of it from the club.
Yeah, but this is the actual episode with it, though. Yeah, so he recreates it in real life all these years later. It's great.
Yeah. But then back in Dan's car, the radio messes up, so he can't hear if Nathan makes a shot or not for him.
And it's that was a little, I don't know how you say for him. Oh.
Well, he could have been nicer to Nathan so many times for so many things.
He could, but Nathan wouldn't be Nathan if Dan was nice. Think about it. Nathan had to learn to be a jerk. So now he can be all cocky and crap to Damien, which is working. Like, it's all working in Nathan's favor, clearly.
Maybe, yeah.
You clearly don't have the same feeling I do.
Yeah, so Nathan makes the winning shot. Everyone's cheering for Nathan. And then this is when Cooper sees Rich on the sidelines in her cheerleading outfit and his arms drop from clapping while they see each other.
That's funny, too. It's like,
yeah, so
Cooper, ew.
Yeah, like I said, either way, he was going to find out sooner or later, even if Brooke didn't do anything, so.
Yeah, all you had to do is show up to Nathan's game.
And then back in Savannah, Peyton tells Jake he's been quiet tonight, and he says that he worries about her. Because what if he said she could stay and somehow they convince her father to let her do it? And then says this life is hard. She's got this fire inside of her, and he doesn't want to be that guy that puts her out or puts that out. And she says he already did that when he left Tree Hill. And she tells him that she's been miserable a lot, and misery is like an old friend, and it tricks you sometimes into thinking that it's just going to be there and that you can't be happy, but you can walk away from that pain. And she thinks that being in love is the best way to do it. And she asks him, what does he feel when they're together? And he says hope, and she says her too. And they deserve that. And then back at the gym, Rachel was seen against the wall When Mouth walks out and sees her, he asks if she's okay, and she says not really. She got caught in a lie tonight, and he asks with Cooper about her age, and she's surprised that he knows. And he tells her that he didn't tell Cooper a thing.
Why would she be surprised? She saw, like, they met. Obviously,
Well,
they
yeah,
didn't know who each other were, but he was
yeah,
gonna find
well,
out eventually.
yeah, she's just surprised that he knows now. Yeah,
Well, she
and
has been
then,
hanging around, or he has been hanging around Brooke.
hmm yeah, but maybe since it wasn't Nathan, that's why maybe she thought he wouldn't know.
Well, he is friends with Nathan.
Yeah, but we don't really see them hang out, at least recently. And then, Rachel asks why not, why didn't he say anything? And he says it's because if Cooper makes her happy the way that she made him feel, then he wants that for her. And Rachel tells Mouth that Brooke was right. She doesn't deserve him. And she tells him she's sorry. And Mouth tells her to never say sorry, that was one of her rules, right? And Rachel says that it's a stupid rule. He says one of these days she's going to have to quit lying and just be herself. And maybe today's that day. So then outside, Haley tells Nathan he was great tonight when
Dan walks up.
yeah.
And he said, I know I'm not supposed to get close to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked when he said that he walked in the gym as the mayor, but he finished the night as a father.
Mm-hmm.
Looking in at a son who deserves better. I'm like,
Yeah.
because here's the thing, like, it's so true. And I'm happy he said it.
Yeah, me too.
Like, clearly the whole him killing Keith is changing him.
Mm-hmm.
I did like
Yeah.
though when he said that, like, he was proud of him and stuff. And like, not about basketball, but like
Yeah.
the choices he made and the man he's become.
Mm-hmm.
That was so cute.
Yeah, and he even got choked up and told Nathan that he loves him.
Because he never says that.
Mm-mm. So then Nathan narrates again. Rachel shows up at Deb's to see Cooper. He tells her,
Why?
yeah, just to talk to him.
Don't you think you would know it was over? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, Rachel's not like that.
I don't know. It's annoying. And then, of course, he was like, no. Because he's like,
Mm-hmm.
you're set, because he talks about how she's in high school and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was weird because she said that in North Carolina, she only has to be 16 for them to be together. Still,
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah, that's the age of consent back in 2006 and even today. I looked it up.
But it doesn't mean that she should be with a 20-some-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But she's right. Technically, it's not illegal for them to be together.
Yeah, but then he said in his book that you have to be a hell of a lot older than that.
Mm-hmm.
But then he still goes for it, though.
Yeah, because she entices him by taking off her top, her sweater, cheerleading sweater thing.
Yeah. Ugh. I was like,
Mhm.
Cooper, now you're going to be on the sex offender list.
Yeah. Well, not if it's legal in North Carolina.
Somebody will find a loophole in that.
I feel like Deb could if she wanted.
Yeah, but that would only mean that he gets arrested, and that's her
Oh,
baby
yeah.
brother. She wouldn't want that.
Well, we know that Rachel's parents don't care about her because she's always home alone like Brooke is, so can't see anybody from her family or anything doing anything to get him arrested or anything like that. And then Nathan narrates about finding hope, and Peyton is watching over Jenny, tucking her in. And then that's when Jenny calls Peyton Mama, and later joins Jake on the front. Peyton joins Jake on the front steps while he's playing the guitar, and he asks her what's wrong. She says nothing, and then we see Haley, Nathan, Mouth, Rachel, Brooke, and Jake again, and some good and bad moments they've had. And Nathan narrates that if you're lucky, the person you love decides to love you back, and that's when Peyton asks Jake if he wants to get married.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Like, if that actually would have happened, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I would have liked the show as much as I do.
Right.
Like, I can't. Like, another teen marriage and two people who just shouldn't be together. No, I'm good. I'm not on that train.
Mm-hmm.
I know some are, but I'm not.
Yeah. They would have just got married for the wrong reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, because she's lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Because Petey is on tour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the only reason. Because she was happy. So she can't even say that she's been miserable because when Pete came into her life, she was awfully happy
Mm-hmm.
and smitten with him. So it doesn't make any sense that like, it's been terrible. It's like you got over it
Mm-hmm.
pretty fast. So I don't think it's Jake. Like, I don't think he's the reason. I think it's Peyton doesn't like to be lonely.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it
Yeah.
comes down to it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So highs and lows.
Um the high was Nathan making the basket without looking.
Mm-hmm.
Um and him walking out with Lucas's jersey.
Yeah.
The low was Damien all over Haley. It was disgusting
Right.
because she didn't ask for it.
Mm-mm. And then so my high would be probably Nathan winning the game because now they have that shot at state championship. And then the low was, I guess, Dan, like you said, he worked hard with Nathan since he was little to, see him at that game, but then he didn't get to see it or even really even hear it because the radio went out. But then he did kind of you think he would make a turning point at this episode, but we know he doesn't when he told Nathan that he's proud of him and loves him and all that. So yeah. And then rating.
I'd rate this a 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care really for Peyton and Savannah. And Lucas wasn't even in it. Like, it was an episode that it just, you could tell, like, everybody had to step it up because Lucas wasn't in it.
Yeah, just
And it was
7.
weird, like, to see him not in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just give it a 7. And then worst and best.
So the worst was Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was already on the edge, for dating her, but not knowing it. But then, as soon as he found out, he was first mad.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was okay with it. No.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And the best, you're not gonna like it. Dan.
Oh. For what he said to Nathan, or?
Well, yeah, like the cute moment outside. But then again, he was the one that got Nathan to practice his hardest. Like, he trained him this way.
Yeah, the free throws, yeah.
And he also stuck up for Haley against Damien.
Yeah.
So that's why he's the best for me. What about you?
Yeah, well, my worst was Damien because he tried to mess with Nathan and Haley. He really could have seriously hurt Nathan when he did that one push against him and made Nathan fall like that because he was in midair, and then just made Haley really uncomfortable and touch her when he shouldn't have. And then the best is Mouth just because he could have, gotten more mad at Rachel and could have helped Brooke take her down like in a worse way than her getting caught in the lie at the game. Like he did with Cooper and the bleachers. But instead, Mouth was like trying to say that he wants her to be happy, even if it's with Cooper, when that shouldn't be the case. But yeah, so he had no like anger towards her like he easily could have. So
Yeah, I like that.
mm-hmm.
And then what's the next episode?
Episode 21, Over the Hills and Far Away.
Over the hills we go.
Yep. So second to last episode of the season. Yep.
So sad. I'm just kidding. All right. Thanks for listening.
Yep. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Duo Chat. If you want to chime in with your opinion about the episode and the show we discussed, you can email us at duochatpodcast@gmail.com. And to keep up with updates about the podcast, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube at Duo Chat Podcast. And give us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We would appreciate it.